Friday afternoon live here on the on the hard kill. My speech impediment. Oh my god, it's back. Not true, guys. I don't have a speech impediment. I just had too many coffees. But welcome. It's Friday. We're doing a Friday live here on the show, and we've got a special guest. He's waiting in the wings, Anthony Canania. We just had a chat yesterday, actually, on the show. We wanted to chat about testosterone. We did, but it spiraled into a bunch of different topics. And I just invited him to have a fireside chat, another vet bro, just letting it fly. So I'll bring him in once I'm done my spiel. The title of today is like, are troops really going to Ukraine? That was in the news. I just want to rant about that a little bit. Before we get into it, though, make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe. I know I got to say it, but it's because you guys don't hit the button. 80% of y'all don't hit subscribe. I can see it. I can see it. You guys are just freeloading. It's not 2020 anymore. It's 2025. Going to be 2026. Getting free content requires you to hit a like button, hit subscribe. Just make it happen. All right. If you're enjoying this content, it helps grow the channel. More people like Anthony get aware of the channel, want to hop on, want to have a cool chat, and then you get better content. And it is absolutely free. However, you know it's not free? Becoming a member of the show. If you want to become a member of the show, just go on your phone here, go on YouTube, and then go check out the community. If you go check out the community, there is a way to support the show for as little as $2.99 a month, guys. $2.99 a month fulfills my coffee habit. So you could be a paid member. You get a shout out. Shout outs are going to, I believe, the same two individuals from last time. I think I still got Yannick Boulay and Rex Hominis. Let's see if we got anybody else on the guest list here. I don't think so. Nope. Still got our same two members. So thanks for being a member. And there are some perks that come with it. There are different tiers. If you want to learn more, head to your app, open it up, and become a member. And today's episode, this live, is sponsored by VRFX, located in my hometown of Dorval, Quebec. It is a fully operational VR arcade. It is absolutely incredible. We got some new content coming out with me playing, and I'm just going to open up the website here. It's not me actually playing, but just giving you an idea. They've got a full on arena where you get to play Outbreak, Far Cry, Space Marine. I played them all. My favorite's Far Cry. If you're in the Montreal area, it's right next to the Dorval Airport. If you want to have a amazing experience and get 20% off because you are a veteran or military member, just head on over, talk to Peter or Boris. They're veterans. They'll get you all sorted. You can play up to 6 people at a time in their VR arena. I trust, I guarantee you're going to have a good time, and you're going to make sorry, I shouldn't say make. You're going to make a sweat. You're going to build up an incredible sweat. Man, I got the coffee jitters. It's crazy. So head over to VRFX. The link is here in the description. And thanks to our main sponsor, Firmtech. Firmtech is the world's leader in sex technology for dudes, keeping you healthy, keeping your boners healthy, but ultimately making sure that you have a healthy heart is the point of the device. If you want to learn more, go to the link in the description, get 15% off. It's probably your first cock ring. I'm a cock ring salesman right now. I got my silicone ring. This is not my cock ring. This is my actual wedding ring. I'm playing with it right now, but you can play with your own cock ring at home. If you go to the link, get 15% off. It's Bluetooth. It's going to make sure that you don't die of a heart attack, and you get to have a little fun in the process. Go check it out. All right. So what I want to talk about today, guys, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, Jude, I almost forgot. Guys, Frank, I almost forgot. I got a big event coming up. Where is it? Veterans on the Canal. Here we go. Let's get this form here taken care of. Veterans on the Canal. It's in a month. So pitter patter, let's get at her. We've got a bunch of people already signed up and many more to go. Like all things, I can expect most of you to sign up like a week in advance. That's okay. It's absolutely free to sign up. I haven't made any merch yet. That's likely coming down the pipe, but we're going to be hopping on the canal, on the path, If you've ever been to Montreal, it is absolutely beautiful. We're going to walk essentially downtown to the Peel Basin. We're going to loop around close to the F1 racetrack, come on back. We're going to have food. We're going to have beers. We're going to have just fun, a piper. We're going to be shooting a cannon. Like we're going all out. The point of this is to have fun and build the community and to make sure that you guys know that we're not alone. We have a brand new generation, the GWAT generation, that isn't really doing much. We don't really know what to do. So I've taken inspiration from our American friends and their silky hikes. And I've been to one and it was absolutely the best veteran event I've ever done. And I want to bring that energy here to Canada. So if you want to sign up, head to Veterans on the Canal. Even like, because we're in Quebec, right? So if you guys are French, right? And tu parles français, on est bilingue. This is going to be a really interesting event because it's going to be Anglo-Franco, hopefully Americano, Canadiano, all smushed together, and we can see the magic happen. So for you francophones out there, for you Francos, send over the link. Everything here is translated in French. I speak French very well. Actually, GPT speaks French very well, and so does my wife. So that's my proofreader. But everything's here. It's a super simple form. Just hit join us right here. And on September 27th, you can be a walker with us. If you can't walk, you get some accommodations, and bring your wheelchair, man. We'll sort you out. We'll figure it out. We'll get her done. We'll have safety vehicles on the route for you. Don't worry. And I don't want you to think that because we're going for a walk that you can't join us. And we also need volunteers. Call to volunteers as well. If you guys want to just help out in the day and just chill at the HQ, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Everything is here on the website. So head over to it's site.hardkill.org/home veterans on the canal. Easier if you just go to the link that's in the description. All right. So that's it for me, guys. What are you feeling about this? Like, is this something that you want to get after? I know it's in Montreal. So for a lot of you folks that are listening, because you're Anglophone, so you're likely not in Montreal, you're probably in Ontario. I know I got a lot of people in Toronto listening. I got a lot of people in Alberta, got a lot of Americans. Guys, if you are in the area, I strongly recommend you come on down. And we've even got some accommodations that are limited, but you have to get in touch with me really early on to make that happen here at the Veteran Center. So love to see you. Let's get into the chats, guys. If you haven't dropped a comment yet, please do. It really helps. It makes me realize that, hey, people are listening. I like it. I like it. And we'll start moving on from there. Live stream chat. Hold on a sec here. I'm still having a hard time with this. Send me anybody actually okay. Well, okay. So we've already started talking about in the chats here. I've already started talking about going to Ukraine. And this is the point of my conversation today before we get chatting with Anthony and the wings here. So if you guys haven't seen the news, our fearless leader, Mark is talking about sending troops to the International Coalition for Peace, like the peacekeeping mission, once Ukraine has the war has been resolved. Now they're telegraphing something here. I don't know if you guys have noticed how kind of things work. They start telegraphing their next moves. The fact that they're talking about the peacekeeping missions, like, but hold on, so we haven't even attained peace yet, is essentially saying, well, this is over. This is over. This is coming to an end. It's been 3 years, 4 years. It's coming to an end. Okay, so we need to establish the peacekeeping mission, which for me sounds like the new Cold War. You're going to have a very frosty border in Ukraine with the Russians. That's just inevitable, aka Cold War 2.0, like they had in Germany back in the day. And good old Mark here is like, yeah, we'll likely send, like 6,000 Canadians, which I don't know. That seems like a lot. That seems like a lot. Even in the National Post, they make it clear that that 6,000 or any commitment for that matter is going to be really hard to fill. Really hard to fill. And now, the way I see it, this is going to be a shit show, an absolute shit show. We don't have enough soldiers to send any significant amount to any place. We have 2,000 in Latvia right now, and that's stressing out the military. 2,000 soldiers. To put this in context, like if 2,000 soldiers stressed out the American military, like it would collapse. Like that's insane. 2,000 soldiers for the Americans is a spit in a bucket. That's essentially like Guam, I think. 2,000 for us is stressing the military out, man. It's not even a combat mission. So how are we going to stand up another 6,000? I don't know. Maybe you guys have the answer here in the comments. But let's get into the actual conversation here on YouTube. And we're not going to do the whole video here, but this is just the analysis based on his comments in Poland the other day.
Prime Minister Mark Carney was in Poland today, sitting down with Prime Minister Donald Tusk to plan out post-war peace in Ukraine. Both prime ministers agreed to work closer together.
So we're together working side by side in Ukraine, together side by side in NATO. And if I may say, we learned much from the Prime Minister, from his government, including the importance of pulling our full weight in NATO.
The meeting comes one day after Carney joined President.
I like his little like smirk there, like ha ha ha. We're not pulling our full weight, you know that I know that you know that I know that we're not pulling our weight. We're gonna pay our troops more, and then that'll show. Oh man, we're doing so much more for our military. We've increased spending to 5%. We're giving. What I just saw the other day, corporals make up the lion's share or the largest percentage of the budget in terms of pay. We spend over $1 billion a year in corporal pay, which is fucking crazy. And it's like $811 million a year for captain's pay. Whew, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. We get paid really well. I mean, it's a high paying job for somebody that doesn't have a high school education. Theoretically, like you don't need one to be a corporal. You know, within a few years, you're making like, was it $90K a year? Yeah, life kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of sucks, but still, $90K is not bad with benefits. Shit. But you don't have any equipment. You don't have any tours. You don't have bullets. You don't have shacks that don't have mold. Yeah, I mean, it's not the easiest go, but at least you're getting paid. Sure, it all goes to taxes and food, but well, not if you're eating base rations. But anyways, I'm rambling here. So carry on.
Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv to celebrate Ukrainian Independence Day.
Your fight is our fight. That your struggle is our cause. And that your independence will be our victory.
This was Carney's first official trip to Ukraine, where he committed to possibly sending Canadian troops in the event of a ceasefire. But with recent attempts by the U.S. to broker a settlement, what are the prospects of getting there? Witold Jilski is the ambassador of the Republic.
So my opinion on all this is I can't see how they've made the leap that Ukraine's fight is our fight. I have been like staunchly opposed to the war since the beginning. Well, and because the reason being is that I'm staunchly opposed all wars right now. Having fought a fucking stupid war, which netted zero for any of us that fought it. Like this whole idea that we're staunchly opposed to the Russians stomping all over the Ukrainians and we're just funneling cash over there with no receipts makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. Sure, okay, we're supporting our NATO allies, but Ukraine's not a NATO ally. This is an American-Russian war, clearly. And we don't have the money to be sending over there. So their fight is our fight. I don't know how the prime minister can get away with expressing that when it's not a plurality of Canadians that actually believe that. I don't believe it. There's a lot of Canadians that don't believe it. I don't agree with sending our tax dollars over to a foreign war anymore. I'm a complete isolationist now. Having been all in on policing the world for 20 years, I thought that was the right thing to do. I see that it's not. It's a stupid thing to do. And it provides no net return for the actual people of the country, Canadians. What are we going to get in return for spending, what, $22 billion? We're not even at the table when they bring all the leaders that are deciding what's going to happen in Ukraine at the end of the day. With all that money, what does it prove? Like, we've got veterans that are homeless. We have, veterans that are freaking offing themselves left, right, and center because our programs suck. how do we justify that? You know, we have one of the worst levels of food insecurity in the OECD. How does that make any sense? Where's that money? We have one of the worst healthcare systems in the OECD. How does that make any sense? Our infrastructure sucks. Everything sucks. We could use $20 billion in Canada to fix things. But what's the geostrategic vision on this? I don't know. I'm not a politician. It just doesn't, it doesn't pass the sniff test for me. So what do you guys think? If you guys are active duty, are you like fired up? Like, yeah, let's go back to Ukraine, because we were there, right? Doing a training mission. And then we bounced once the war started, because obviously you couldn't have NATO troops on the ground. But is Russia really going to be keen on a peace agreement that has NATO troops on its border? Yikes. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's an interesting world we live in. And all these power brokers, all these international bankers, all these maniacal folks at the very top, tippy top of our political systems are pulling all the strings. And then we just have to decide which flag we're going to put on our Instagram or like our Twitter bios, right? To pick a side. You better pick a side, motherfucker. I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyways, Anthony, curious to know what you think, man. Let's get you in here. Let's get you in here. So I'll do a better intro on Anthony in a quick second once I figure out how to get people back into. There we go. Okay.
Dun dun dun.
There we go.
Welcome.
So Anthony, man, I see you more than my wife in the last 2 days. This is great.
Hey, you know, as long as we can stay cozy, that's all that matters.
As long as we can stay cozy. I fucked up my audio here. Hold on a sec. There we go. All right, now we're better. Yeah. So, folks, Anthony is a scholar, like literally. He's an actual doctor, not a medical doctor. He has a lot more education than I do. He is a veteran as well. He had a really successful podcast, which I was on, and he was on mine as well 2 years ago, 2024, I believe. And now he's moving forward with some new initiatives. But the reason why I like talking to him is because he's wicked smart. He's just a smart dude. And that's the point, I think, anyways, of like having a show. You got to talk to smart people. And in this format, we get the riff. So yesterday we chatted a lot about his use of TRT. However, like I said earlier, it really meandered into philosophy just because it was about health. It's like, what is health? But now we're talking about like geopolitics. So like Anthony, man, like you fought in, it was in Iraq or in Afghanistan you were deployed to?
Yeah, it was Iraq. Yeah, I was in. I went to Iraq in 2003. I was part of the main war effort. We were the burn breachers.
You were the spear.
Yeah. I was a Charlie Company 70th Engineers. I was attached to the 1st Armored Division, 3rd Brigade, and 101st Airborne. So we were part of the group that broke the berm, went in, had the battles in Nasiriyah, Abu Ghraib, stayed most of my time in Baghdad off Highway 10. So yeah, definitely the beginning of the war effort for sure.
Sick. What were your thoughts? Like, you were there. What was your initial feeling going into it? And then how have your feelings changed now that you're out of it?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. I'll try to answer that in the best way that I can. I think it's important to understand that, you know, I was somebody that went into the military because I had a lack of options. My parents got divorced and my dad decided to run off with a younger woman. And the way that he wanted to wine and dine her was by using my college fund at the time.
Dad, what a jerk move.
Yeah, he took my whole college fund, and so my parents were going through a divorce my senior year, and so I was like, "Yeah, what the hell am I gonna do?" And one of my buddies had joined the Army, and you know, I was a football player and an athlete in high school, and so I thought, you know, what bigger team than the U.S. military, right? Like this gives me an opportunity to like be a part of a team still and to do something, and so I went into the military. and absolutely hated it. I was a very immature child. And I was raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. So I was the epitome of spoiled. And I had no like real world experience whatsoever. And so the military was very difficult for me. I credit the military for two things. One, shaping me into the individual that I am today. Without it, I don't think that I would have made it this far. And two, for giving me some real world perspective to life outside of the United States, which for a lot of people that live here, we're so geographically isolated, and I'm sure that you get this in Canada as well, where your ability to experience the world outside of your country is very limited. And so there's an education that don't take place for most people. But long story short, I wasn't a very good soldier for most of my career. I had spent a lot of it in trouble. I've got more hours of extra duty than I think I have regular duty. And so when I got my orders to go to Iraq, I was terrified. But it was a life-changing moment for me, because I realized in that moment that if I left and I went over there in my current form, that there was no way I was coming home. And so I really grabbed my britches, so to speak, and I was like, we got to do this shit. We got to do it for real. Like, it's time to be an actual soldier. Like, this isn't play anymore. And so it put me into a position to really take charge of that. And then, I went to Iraq and I had the experiences that I had. And there was a lot of things that happened on the ground in Iraq that dramatically changed my opinion of the war. I really... Even though I was in the military, I didn't follow politics, and I wasn't very concerned about that. I mean, people don't really, a lot of people don't understand that the military before September 11th looked a lot more like a frat house college party than it did a military. Like, we had no real training. We didn't do shit. Like, there was nothing that happened. I mean, when we got our orders to deploy, federal marshals came in, started training us. When we were on ground in Kuwait, before the burn breach, we were also doing additional training and like rifle training and all this stuff.
Like
I went over there.
Theater?
Oh yeah, in theater,
Oh,
like
that's fucking
100%. Like we
wild,
breached the berm, drove a few probably 100 miles, set up a range, and zeroed our rifles like after already being in country.
It's like, hey guys, fuck. Okay, sorry, we should have done this like 100 miles ago.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah.
All right,
we were the epitome of not squared away. And so, we still had flak vests and LBE gear, and like Mali panels and Mali gear did not exist at that time. We didn't even have interceptor vests. We had those shitty like Vietnam Air everything, right? So when I was done with most of the main war effort before somebody issued me an interceptor, and I was like, well, shit, I could have used this like 3 months ago, but that's cool. Now I've got this 80-pound thing to lug around. This is great. But we're still attaching like LBE gear to all the Mali stuff because we had nothing that was compatible. And so, it was a learning moment. But when I came back, there was always that moment of like, me and the guys that were over there, we would always have these conversations and we would talk and be like, I know something's different, but I don't know what. And I feel different. I know I'm different. This experience has definitely reshaped me as a human. But you don't realize it until you get back home. And when I get back home, the realization of that kind of kicked in. Then it was like, oh shit, like, this was a different purview of the world. And it definitely made an impact on me. But my personal beliefs on the war, it mirrors a little bit of what yours does. And I've had some growth moments. At the time I was very, American patriot. We're doing this to protect freedom. Yeah, like this is all about protecting freedom, and like fuck these guys. And I was
let's get the eagle here.
I was so stereotypical in my mindset and views, but I had a few things that happened over there that really changed my opinion. And one was after the initial war effort ended, when the uprising started, and they started having all the militia and everything that started to come out of that. And we had a group of interpreters that worked with us from the beginning, and all the respect and all the love to every single interpreter that I ever worked with. One of them actually ended up working with us for so long that he had to escape to Jordan for his safety, and then he got to America, and then when he got to America, I think one of the soldiers that he was working with through a deployment after mine actually sponsored him to get to the States, and then he ended up joining the military and going back to Iraq.
No shit.
I guess he just couldn't get enough of it, but
well, I mean, I could understand, like, I mean, like, if the roles were reversed, like, let's say, like, wars here in Montreal, fuck, that's like, who am I helping, right? Like, oh, am I helping, I don't know who we fight, whatever, like, let's say I have to help a foreign country who's like on my side, but then I gotta pop smoke and get the fuck out and go somewhere else. I'd be like, man, I want to get back home and like actually like mix it up and know how can I help. That makes sense. That makes sense. I get that.
Yeah, I had a lot of respect for him for doing that, but
Yeah.
he was in part of like his name was Ali, and he was a part of like changing my perspectives of things that were over there. There was a lot of things that we went counterintuitive to what we were being told. Like when we started raising the Iraqi government, for example, we put all the Shiites in charge, and we were told that the Sunnis were bad. And the problem was all of our interpreters were Sunni,
Sunnis. Yeah.
and they told us a completely different story. And it's like, well, who do you believe in this situation? Because these people that are interpreters are risking their life and limb to be here with us, and it's actually putting them in physical danger, their families. Like they're in risk of dying right now for just even talking to us, let alone working alongside of us.
Yeah.
And I had one event where we got attacked in the market, and we were down underneath the berm, and and he even like he jumped on the Humvee, took the 50 cal and started returning fire for us when we were in danger. And and it's like, well, if this guy is the bad guy, this doesn't make a lot of sense. And then when you see him, he got so mad once when he seen a Shiite leader come through our gate that he literally tried to get up and to attack the guy. And then when you started to experience some of the stuff that we did in Iraq, especially with the people, the best way that I can describe the cultural mentality of the people of Iraq, and I don't mean this derogatively, but it's very similar to the movie Tombstone. The cowboys, the way that the cowboys behaved, everything that they did, but it's like as soon as you took one of them out, like they were protesting in the streets, and so the way that Saddam dealt with this, because I didn't expect to see like Christian communities and Western style colleges, and everybody speaks English. Like when I was on Highway 10 and coming into Baghdad, and the sign to Baghdad was in English, not Arabic. Like Arabic was the subscript. I was like, holy shit, man, this is weird.
Hold on a sec. It's civilized here. They have electricity. Like, I mean, I was deployed with the Americans my whole tour in Afghanistan. And the guys that I'd been to Iraq, and now they're like, dude, I would be in Iraq like any day over this place. I'm like, oh yeah. They're like, yeah, this place is awful. There's no electricity. There's no civilization. It's just fucking hell here. Over there, it's like, it's modern. I'm like, what? I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, what you don't see on TV is like the fact that it's just like it's a modern country, but we show all the bombed out, like fucked up areas. But ultimately, it's one of the oldest civilizations in human history. So they're going to have like normal shit, and you don't realize that when you just see what's on the news, right? So that was eye opening for me too when I was deployed.
Yeah, I had that typical American view that every other country other than America was some third world country and nobody had freedom.
Right?
And if you're in a Muslim country, then it must be Sharia law or nothing. And and what Saddam did, I kind of realized in my personal opinions, and I'm not making any attempt to defend Saddam Hussein at all. I did not know him. I was not there when he was a leader, and so I can't speak for this. I can only speak to interpreters that were generals in the military and other people that we had worked with. But like, for example, what he would do, he passed a law that allowed Christianity to be not just legal but protected. And so what would happen is there would be a Christian family living on the street, and like let's say Shiite or whoever would move in, and then they would kill the Christian family, and then they would make an example out of that. And then what he did is he would send the Republican Guard in, and then he'd kill all the Shiite leaders and hang them from the streetlights so that everybody could see the bodies. And it sounds horrific. However, that is the language that culture understands, and they respect and behave that. And it did provide freedoms for those that weren't under the tyranny of those other groups. And I actually felt like in the moment being there, I was like, oh wow, that works a lot better than the crap that we're doing, because they're laughing at us, like they think that we are just jokes. And they don't have any respect at all for us, because we're giving them 3 squares a day, and we're not using violent methods to arrest, and we're doing all these things. And it's like, oh, you mean if you guys pick me up and arrest me, you're going to give me food and water, and you're going to take care of me, and then I just get let go a couple of days later and I can go do it again? Like,
Exactly.
okay, well, bombing in 3 days, got it. And that was the role there. So it definitely changed my impact, but it definitely, to me, to answer the original question, and hopefully I'm doing that okay, it was a waste. I mean, I regret every moment of it. I went into a foreign land. I walked down somebody else's streets and roads. And, I think about that all the time here. It's like, if, the Chinese army showed up and started walking down the American streets, how would I feel about that? And the reality is I have so much respect for the people of Iraq, because how they chose to deal with that as a majority is to come out and welcome us and give us food and shelter and offer help. And they were warm and welcoming and wonderful people. And that was polarizing and shocking to me. And that was something that I couldn't ignore. It's like, sure, they had people that were fighting back and they had unrest and whatever, but the majority of the people that I met the entire time that I was there accepted me in their land for no reason. Like, I couldn't imagine that I would have extended the same courtesy. And so it really made me realize that, we're fighting wars anymore for political measures and economic measures. And we can talk about the nuances of that and whether it's justified or not. But at the end of the day, the people that are getting hurt in all this are the people that aren't involved in it. It is the innocent civilians, the women, the children, the people that are just trying to go on and live their lives. And they're getting caught up in all of this self-interest of a very small group of powerful people who want to exploit economics or resources or power, whatever the case may be. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but why are we hurting so many people in the process that have no voice, that have no choice? If I'm just working my day-to-day life and I'm living in a Ukraine, and the next thing you know, everything's getting bombed around me and there's wars in the streets, like, this is not my fault. I don't want this. I didn't ask for this, and so I have a lot of empathy for the people that are stuck in the middle between these types of things, because it's unfortunate.
Yeah, of course. It's always the people that are on the ground that suffer the most, right? It's not the politicians. You know, one of my biggest contentions here in Canada is that war can be declared essentially like that. We don't need to have any input from Canadians to be like, yeah, we need to go to war. It's essentially a declaration by the prime minister, which really makes it like a king. And I've argued numerous times that if we're going to go to war ever again as a nation, there better be a member of each one of Parliament's family in the military before we go. That would level this whole playing field out, and you'd have a responsibility to ensure that you're not sending our troops over for a bullshit mission because you're like, oh fuck, my son's going. So the culture here in Canada is, I've noticed is quite different than in the States, because you'll have a lot of congressmen that have served, or senators that have served, or they have family members that are currently serving. That makes your mindset completely different. Now, granted, still going to a shit ton of wars, and I don't think Iraq and Afghanistan should have occurred. I mean, I was all in too, man. I was like, fuck, September 11th. I was like, bah! I just joined the military. I'm like, who do we kill? Like it was like, all right, we're going to Afghanistan. Let's go. And then I was like, wait, why going to Iraq? Oh. And then while I was in Afghanistan, I was like, yeah, we got to fix this country. But that wasn't the mission.
Yeah.
That's what I made the mission up to be in my heart, so that it, I guess, could morally justify being over there. But I also wanted to go like fucking fight and blow shit up. So I had like, I was still young.
Yeah.
So I still had these two competing ideas. But when I got over there near the end of the tour, I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, kind of like what you said, like, I don't regret going over. And I've gone through kind of all the different stages of, you want to call it grief or whatever, to the point where I've just gotten to the point of acceptance. I did what I thought was right at the time. I was in the military at the time. It's what I did. I did provide some good. I recognized, there were schools that were open while I was there that I had a part of, doing. And two of the interpreters that I work with are here in Canada, and their families here in Canada, that I was directly, working on during that whole like fall of Afghanistan. So I'm like, okay. So that was the positive that came out of it. I can't control anything else. That was completely, it was politicians doing their thing, bankers doing their thing, companies doing their thing. I was 29. I didn't know any better. So, but now my belief is like, man, if you're going to send troops into combat again, if you're going to, and the thing that bothers me about Ukraine is like, Canada has typically always taken the position of being, the peacekeeper. Okay, cool. But the way I see it is like, we're just warmongers right now, just funneling cash and weapons and munitions to keep the war going without actively being there to say, enough, we got to fix this. Let's get to the table, because there has to be a compromise and there has to be a treaty at some point, a peace treaty. But it's like we've turned into this like chicken hawk now, where we just fund the war machine, and most Canadians have no idea the horrors of what war looks like. So it's like, for them, it's like, oh, I can put up a flag and like I'm supporting. Okay. But it's kids killing kids, man. It's 20-year-olds just massacring each other on a battlefield in the middle of Europe. Like, I can't consciously be a part of that shit, man. I have no taste for war anymore. It's disgusting. So I don't know if that's like our generation's new like battle cry, to be like, do you really want to get involved in another war? Because my kids are young. I know you have a son, right? He's a little bit older.
Yeah, I got 4 kids. I have
but they're all a little bit older, right? They're all teenagers.
Yeah, 23 to 16. So
yeah, but still, they're young though, man. Like, if there's a full-blown war, like, my kids are still a little bit too young, but in 8 years they're not. Yours are right at that age, man. Like, I really don't feel comfortable, and I don't feel the same kind of patriotic urge to join and fight for the country anymore, because of what happened over the last 20 years. It completely deflated my worldview and my sense of being like good, because these wars were just a waste of life and a waste of treasure, and ultimately, like, we just fucked up Afghanistan even more, and Iraq even more. We killed how many civilians? Like, millions of civilians. Like, that's man, that is such a toll. And to be a part of that, and because it wasn't like directly affecting our homeland, we just go home and be like, man, like, that, right? Like, it's just like, okay, well.
I think you can, there's so much in what you said there, and I'm going to try to address what I think are the key topics there. People so much dismiss, either through ignorance or unknowing, the power of propaganda and psyops. And they think that this is only used in wartime. They don't understand that every country in the world that promotes nationalism engages in psychological operations and propaganda for the people that live there, in all aspects of society and all aspects of life. And it's a deliberate and malicious action that meant to program the way of thinking about the world and about conflict and how we hold things. And I'll use a great example. So for all the NATO peacekeeping missions of the world and everything that we're doing, we need to go in and support Ukraine. Okay, if that is what we're doing, then simple question: why are we not intervening in Gaza? There are 2.4 million people there that are going through what is a literal genocide. What about Beirut? What about all these other places that all of these atrocities have been
Yemen.
going on for such a long time?
Yep.
We don't have anybody doing anything about that, except for individuals and citizens like you see in Gaza taking it upon themselves to risk their own lives to go in there to try to provide aid. No other country is standing up. What are they doing? They're saying, "Oh, we don't agree with you. We dismiss this," but nobody's taking action. But yet they're taking action in Ukraine. Why? Well, I think the answer is simple. It's because there's resources there. There's a
100%.
power play there. There's something politically to be gained in that space that isn't politically to be gained in Israel. So it's not about protecting human rights or protecting humanity or any of these things that they're trying to bill to people. And then when you live in a country, especially as a young person, we glorify war. And it's in every video game, it's in every movie, as an adult. Now I don't even like movies like Avengers and all this popular shit that's out there. I don't want to see that kind of violence every time I turn on my television. There are plenty of other stories to tell. And I think that is where the disconnect comes in. And like you mentioned, with political leaders and even with individuals in society, I can speak from America for certain, and you can mention the Canadian story on this, but Americans have no conceptual idea of what the world is like outside of America unless they've had the opportunity to go there.
Mhm.
And when you have the opportunity to see other countries in the world and you get to see poverty for real, or like I did when I went to Iraq and watching children and families living in bombed out rubble buildings with 10 over their head, constant threat of death and everything else that comes with that. There is a reality of life that exists outside of our comfortable Western world and our ideologies and all of this stuff that we pretend to be so enlightened by, that we have no real conceptual understanding of what that other side looks like. And when you go to the other side and you see it, like when I was in Iraq, I said, I will never, ever let this happen on my soil, in my land, to my people, to my family. There's no way. It was the worst thing that I had ever seen, the remains of the Iran-Iraq war and everything that came through that. And you're right. Politicians have no stake in this game. When a politician sits up there and they make a vote to go to war, it's not them that's going. It's not their family that's going. It's not their friends that are going. And even if they did, if they would send their friends and family, how's that going to work? They're going to get put in officer positions. They're going to get protected. They're going to be put off on the sidelines. They're not going to be the one doing the shooting. They're not going to be the one that their lives are in danger or at risk. There is zero risk for everybody in that ruling class. Period. End of story.
Well, not only that, there's only upside.
Yeah,
right.
They're getting everything that they want,
unless they get voted out. But that's probably a very, like, in terms of their calculus. It's like, yeah, but it's America. Like, we love going to war. We don't protest it. Like, I remember so well during the like push to go into Iraq. There was like one, I think she was a congresswoman that was a dissenting voice. She's like, why are we going? And they're like, boo, you're anti-American. And I was just like, I was still a kid at that time. I was like, yeah, but usually the dissenters are the ones that, like, it takes balls to be a dissenter and be like, hey, wait a minute. Like, that's why they should have like a valued place in your society. But yeah, she was absolutely right. Like, I remember there was protests against the Iraq war, and like Canada didn't get involved because it's like, I don't know, we're already in Afghanistan. I think we're good because like it didn't pass the sniff test. And but that's also like what you're saying. Canadians, other than their own little patch of the world, like we hold our like this like sense of arrogance about us that, well, we're more worldly than our American neighbors, but we're not, man. Like, we're really not. Yeah, sure, we might be a little bit more geographically literate, maybe, but I don't know. I taught in high schools, man. I I I don't think so. I think we're pretty similar when it comes to
Mhm.
like our knowledge of how the world works, especially outside of our comfortable little countries, because that's what we have. We have like comfortable countries that haven't seen war, like straight
Mhm.
up, like, oh shit, I might die today from a shell coming from a God knows where, and I got to take care of my family and find food and do all that shit. Like we've never experienced that, so we don't know what it's
Mm-mm.
like to fund war. We don't know what it's like when troops come home. We don't know have any idea. So for us, again, it's all upside
Yeah.
when the politicians decide, yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
Well,
because
and
it's like, yay, we support the cause of the day.
yeah.
That's what it comes down to,
Well,
and whatever monetary, kickback or enrichment or whatever comes through, those mechanisms that, are deeply rooted in all of our countries at this point. I just put up that screenshot of the agreement here with BlackRock and Ukraine. Like
yeah.
like
Well,
they're
I
divvying
was
up
just
the
going to say
like
that. Yeah.
it doesn't take a rocket scientist to be like,
No.
oh, okay,
The
well,
the economist in me can simplify and streamline so many world events and conflicts that people get so confused about. And I say it all the time. Follow the money.
there you go.
Look and see where the money is going. And investing in war is a profitable strategy. Why is your country engaging and investing in the war? Because it's profitable. There's money to be made. There's companies there that are giving kickbacks. There's large groups like BlackRock and Triple Canopy and everything else that's going over there and doing the contracting and weapons and all the other stuff that goes into all of those places and things. And unfortunately, as citizens of geographically isolated countries where all of our information is provided to us by a very controlled propaganda outlet, it's really difficult to understand and ascertain, what is truth. And one of the listeners made a comment that the CIA and MI6 started the war. Well, of course they did. Why is that a surprise? We're engaging in proxy wars all over the world right now. Do you think it's any coincidence that Thailand invaded Cambodia after getting a visit to the White House and a contract through the United States? Of course, we decided to fund that country to engage in a war against China, and so we're using those means to proxy war all over the world, and we that's exactly what happened in Ukraine. The listeners are right. That is the United States versus Russia. That is all that is. That has nothing to do with anything else other than the US decided to start a proxy war with Russia in an attempt to hurt Russia, and they were able to fund and use Ukraine. That's why most of the military leaders that are in place right now in the Ukrainian army are US intelligence officers and US military leaders, and this is public knowledge. So this is happening all over the globe all the time, and it never stops. Just how much we hear about it is the only thing that stops.
Yep. Well, that's exactly it. Like, I mean, it's mainstream media that you can just pull these stories from. That's what I have up here. How the CIA and Ukrainian intelligence secretly forged a deep partnership. The partnership helped Ukraine defend itself and gave the US key intelligence. Yeah, of course. I
Hmm.
mean, to kind of sit and like dismiss the fact that obviously the Americans, this is the continuation of the Cold War. This is their opportunity to put the last stake in the heart of the Russians. It's just good guys, bad guys. This is the continuation of this long narrative since the Second World War. That just it's it's history, man. Like, it's not just all of a sudden, oh shit, there's a war in Ukraine. Where did this come from? Man, this goes back 100 years plus. The Russians have a long memory. Most Americans
Hmm.
don't, but the American politicians and the bankers, they do,
Yeah.
and they see a target of opportunity. This goes back to like the end of the Cold War, where Gorbachev was like, "Hey guys, uh, not one step past Germany, like for NATO," and it was a handshake agreement. Yep, we're not going to move past Germany. Got it. And then slowly but surely, there's an encroachment, and the Russians like, "Fuck, guys." Like, I'm no fan of the Russians, but like, you got to understand, an enemy is going to eventually say, "Hey guys, enough's enough. quit moving into our area. And if you're putting in CIA and shit like that, like we know you're doing it and we're doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
things are going to pop off eventually. And that's essentially what happened. And now we've got this mess, this fucking mess. Didn't the Ukrainians have like the second largest nuclear arsenal up until like the 90s? It was something wild. Like they had like all the Russian nukes at one point, and then when they fractured, it was like, oh shit, this like third world country now has all these fucking nukes. What are we gonna do? It's insanity, man. It's complete
It
insanity.
really is. I mean, that you nailed it. I mean, it is in sheer insanity. And here's the thing that, I challenge the listeners with, because this is something that I wrestle with on a regular basis. And I'm not, very clearly, so I do not get misquoted here, I am not defending any country, any past regime, anything. But here's what I do know. History is written by the winners. And we don't have a detailed, accurate account of history. I don't care how far back you go. There is a 300-year discrepancy between European history and Chinese and East Asia history and Middle Eastern history. And there's arguments that it's even longer than that, because a lot of what we know is factual history was written by people who were wanting to create a narrative for their rulership, for their leadership, for their country, for whatever the case may be. We have historical figures who have recorded events happening on certain dates and times or astrological significance that we know for a fact didn't occur anywhere around those times, but it was convenient to write that. And we see that in modern day history right now. Like we're seeing that in the United States right now. Like there is a big push where they are removing monuments, they are taking down, they're removing books, they're canceling words. There's an audit going on with the Smithsonian right now, calling the Smithsonian too woke, and they're literally changing history in real time in front of everyone that's living here. And if that can happen in 2025 in the day and age of the internet and connection, then how confident can you be of anything that you think that happened 80 years ago? Or
is that, are you talking about the like the missing history theory, where there's like a massive gap and it was the Pope and like the Holy Roman Empire that are like, fuck this, we're just going to put the date to like 300 years in the future?
Yeah,
because
literally.
There's some prophecy or some shit like that. Like dude, I love
they literally skipped
theories like this.
300 years. It's not really a conspiracy theory if you dive into it. I mean, the best argument that and I'm a scholar, so I try to look at things within an objective lens, and I try to look for data, right? And here's data that is undeniable. The East Asian countries, especially China, I love the thumbs up.
Fuck my thumbs, man. They fucking Macintosh. They
meticulously documented history. They documented astrological alignments, time frames, and insignificant events. Everything that you could ever imagine went down into scholarly recording of Eastern Asia. Now, I'm not going to say that is 100% accurate, because there's no way of validating that. But what I do know is European history, they only recorded those significant events when they correlated with some type of significant event that was happening. So they weren't recording every summer solstice, every equinox. They weren't recording minor events throughout history. They were just doing like the coronation of this king or whatever. They were documenting large scale events. And if you compare and contrast European timeline with East Asia timeline, there is 300 years missing, and it occurred somewhere around the 1700s. And so there are people that promote that that there are some theories and conspiracies associated with that. I don't want to weigh in on them because I don't know enough about them to weigh in on it, but that particular piece of evidence is irrefutable, and that is not for speculation. So you can make what you want to with that. And the point of that is if we can identify just one inconsistency with historical timeline, then that begs the question that we have to look at all events of historical timeline and then question the quality and content of that data. And when you look at things that happened during like World War II, World War I, and you look at the emergence of the Allied victory, and I've said this a long time, if the Axis powers would have won the war, we'd have a completely different history right now. we would have a completely different world. We only have the history that we have right now because the Allies won. That doesn't mean that any of it's true. That doesn't mean that we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. What it means is that we won, so we wrote the stories as the good guys. And I don't know what the details are beyond that. But that's something that I think everybody has to critically look at and question every time they hear anything, whether it's a propaganda piece against Russia, Russia did this, Russia did that. We don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. I know that as an American who watches my government and who's been a part of my government, we do a lot of nefarious shit. We got our nose in everybody's business all the time. We're bombing people all over the world all the time. We are reaching the arm of quotation freedom by enacting military control all over the world. Does that make us good?
Yeah,
That's a question that everybody has to ask themselves. Just because we're winning,
it's a solid philosophical question. Yeah, absolutely.
right?
You need to kind of
so-
always be evaluating. Wait, is what I'm doing virtuous?
Yeah. I'm sure if you're a Russian, you wouldn't think too fondly of America. You wouldn't be calling America the good guys.
No,
So
exactly.
it depends on what side of the story that you're on, how you're going to purview the reality of the situation. And so I think everybody has to look at things objectively. And then that's why I say follow the money. You know, there's not good and bad in money. There's money to be made, money to be lost. Who's making the money? Okay, now you probably figured out where the incentive's at. And if you can follow the incentive, then you can usually logically understand the direction and places that they're going with the things that they're doing.
You know,
And
yeah, that's my theory 100% too. It's a money game, right? War is very profitable. To go back to how do we get like a better system so that the wars that we get ourselves involved in actually have some skin in the game. I like the way, like, we're talking about like 300 years of missing history in like the Dark Ages, like kings and stuff like that would ride out with their army, like Carney, like Trump, get on the fucking tank, let's go. You know, like they'd be like, wait,
lead the
I gotta
charge,
be
brother.
in the war. It's like fucking rights, you got to be in the war. Like George Washington, you want to go to war? Get on your horse and start commanding this army. You're the commander in chief. I think that would really put things in check, man. It's like, yeah, get your freaking war gear on, get your armor
this is
on.
completely tongue in cheek, right? I don't mean any of this literally because we know how this would go. But what if instead of all this dumb shit and killing all these innocent people, we just like, you know, if Putin and Trump want to go at it, let's put them in a fucking cage,
MMA.
death match.
Put them in the octagon.
Let's go. Loser, you lose.
You lose.
So
you got to
how
fucking
much?
stop. Oh
Yeah,
my god!
so first-
Yeah, no, that would be honestly, that would mean
step
that
one-
all your world, there's like the AI controls, like, all right, you guys got to fight. It's on this day. It's over here. You have no, and that means all your world leaders. You have to make sure that when you vote, it's like they got to be fucking not only smart, but they got to be able to rip some guy's arm off.
Dude, my money's on Putin. Like that dude's a badass.
That's
Like
KGB,
if people know
man.
anything
That's
about
KGB old
Putin,
school.
he's a
probably knows
scary human.
Savat. He probably
Dude, when he almost killed Trudeau, like
was that when he shoot him
when
off?
he called off the secret security agent because he's like, "Don't worry, I got this." And I was like, I actually puckered. I was like, does that dude even know what the fuck he just did? Like, there's people I would poke in the chest. That's not one of them.
No, that guy actually killed. Like he's one of those world leaders. Like it's like fuck, you've actually killed people, man. That's fucked up.
Yeah,
all the Western world leaders are all like actors. Like Trudeau was literally an actor. I think Starmer was an actor. Trump was an actor. Who's that one from New Zealand? I think it was like they're all like polished actor like people. They're not like warriors, you know. Not like back in the day where you had like the Greek city states and like your leader was like a warrior philosopher.
Well, we have no requirement for it, right? You know, you bring up a good point.
We just live in idiocracies. That's the problem. We live in these idiocracies.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Let's come back to that. Let's circle back to idiocracy in real life. I got a great channel to recommend for that. My brain has been spinning for weeks after that. But, you know, to circle back to what you said earlier, when I was in Iraq, I wrote a paper in college on my undergraduate degree recommending a conscripted service from similar to what the Estonians have. So the Estonians have like the coolest army I've ever seen. I was sitting in guard duty at the FOB 270 Thunderdome, just off of Abu Ghraib in Iraq, and in walks a group of Dolph Lundgrens. Like, they were all the same size, same height, same shape. They all look like fucking killers, you know. And I'm like looking at these like mountains walking by me, you know, and I'm like, dude, those are some bad motherfuckers, like, for real. And yeah, they were like, that's the Estonian professional army. And I was like, explain. And they were like, all right, so here's the deal. Everybody in Estonia has to join the army for a minimum of 2 years. But that's just like the standing force.
Yeah.
And then after 2 years, if you decide that, you know what, I like killing people, then you go on to the professional army. And when you become the professional army, they're the ones that go out and like kick the shit out of people. And dude, they're scary. Like, one of the best stories I got on them is one of their guys got fragged, and it was bad, and they got all super pissy about it. And I don't remember how many there were at this time. It wasn't a lot. I'm thinking it was under 20. It was enough that the whole group walked into the room with me, and they disappeared from the FOB one day, and they were just gone. And so there's talk and rumors all going around, like, these guys just went off grid, man. Like, we don't know where they're at. Nobody's heard from them in like 5-7 days. And then there was a road coming up to the gate where we had our FOB, because we had taken over this old Republican Guard compound. So we had these big 10-foot walls, and there was like an entrance road. It was kind of grand, you know. And these guys, there's this Humvee driving, and there's ropes going behind the Humvee, and then there's all these guys like shackled to the ropes like a chain gang. And they marched like 100 dudes through
medieval
the gate.
Shit, man.
They left and then rounded up like the entire group responsible, like all of them, and on their own, and then brought them back. And they were like, here they are. And I was like, whoa. So
like,
the,
what happened in between the time you guys left and now is what I want to know. Like,
well, we didn't ask, and they didn't answer. So
they're like,
you know,
they're like, don't speak English.
they were legitimately terrifying. But you know, in their model, one wholly qualified army. Like, when I joined the military, I joined for 4.5 years, active duty, like straight out of high school. Dude, I hated the fucking military. Like, I was the worst soldier ever. Like, there was no reason why I should have been included in anything. So, you know, but if I would have done that, like when I got back from Iraq, man, I was in love with the military. I tried to re-enlist like right away. And you know, it was the first time in my military career where I actually got to do my job. And I loved my job. It was such a weird thing. And I don't try to defend that today. I know that may sound terrible to people. But I loved being a soldier, and I actually truly loved war. Wrongly, and it was not right. But there is something about it that can be addictive, and you see that. I think that's why you see guys that live the rest of their lives wearing their war pins, and they're always a veteran, you know, because they're trying to relive that glory moment. And I understand it. There's a lot of hormones, a lot of adrenaline, a lot of dopamine, a lot of stuff that happens in those spaces, and it gets addictive like any other drug. And you know, I tried to rejoin. Now, if you would have re-enlisted me into a professional army at that point, well, fuck yeah, man, let's go. But I think a conscripted service like that would alleviate some of our willingness to jump in and get involved. However, the problem that I have with that, because I'm always my own devil's advocate, I never try to promote anything without showing the other side, would be that then you're also saying that whatever your nation is engaged in, then you are fully supporting. And, you know, if you got a nation that's a bad actor, if you got a nation that's involved in things that are against the best interests of the people, now you've conscripted an entire country to go sacrifice for them. And that's not right either. So, you know, I don't know what the solution is, but I think I agree with you. I think that at the very least, these politicians need to be going on the front lines. And, you know, if Trump wants to get in a Humvee and lead the task force, and you know, let's go, man. Okay, you must.
With the
Now I know you
fucking all right.
Dude, at least you believe in it. I hope you're
all in.
I hope the armor works. Like, you know, but we don't have that, right?
What's that?
We don't have that. Like,
no,
you know,
we don't have, no, it's because we don't have any responsibility, right? It's the I talk about this with my friends a lot, and I echo the same thing as you. And I got to wrap this conversation up because I got to go pick up a buddy from the airport. But
Fair.
I loved war too, man. Like it was the best professional experience I ever had. I got to have my own little team. I got to run my own projects. I got to go on patrol. Like there was adrenaline when we got rocketed, and like you can't get that working in an office. You can't get that working blue. There's nothing that gets the adrenaline monkey on your back like that unless you do. I don't even know. Like it is a drug. And I had a great conversation with my buddy John, who is a Navy SEAL, and he talked to somebody about this concept that he was talking about. It's called warrior withdrawal syndrome. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the best way. He's like, yeah, it's just like it's a long, drawn out kind of like come down from the most potent drug you could ever have, which
Mm-hmm.
is war. And it's unfortunate that we don't kind of recognize it that way, but I think that's what it is, man. And yeah, I mean, like, look, it's, like,
Yeah.
what else do I identify with? I don't really identify with being a teacher. I don't really identify with much else other than like my best professional experience was doing this kind of stuff. And again, I have that same feeling. It's like, man, we really should. It's always conflicted. It's like we really shouldn't have been there, but man, that was fucking cool. We really shouldn't have done what we did, but man, did I grow as a human being in that. And I think that's just one of those things about being human and experiencing deeply human things like war. It's so nuanced that there's no one true answer.
Mm-hmm.
And you just hope that when you do engage in a war, that there is some kernel of truth that will either bring some good down the road, and not have it just be a complete waste of life and treasure. But hey, man, we don't make the rules. Until
Absolutely.
then,
There's a good article in it written by Esquire magazine back in the day. It said, "I miss Iraq. I miss my war and my gun." And it mirrored a lot of what you said there, and I related to that as somebody who had just came back from Iraq just a year or so before. There's a lot of truth to that, and one of the things I tell my wife now, I said, if that place ever calms down, and that's a tourist available space, I want to go back. I want to
same
go.
thing about Afghanistan, man.
Yeah,
like the Vietnam vets that bring their like kids to or grandkids at this point to Vietnam. I'd be back in Afghanistan in a second. I actually
Yeah,
really
because
like the place.
it wasn't all bad. I mean, in Baghdad's beautiful. People don't realize that's an oasis in the middle of a desert. Like palm
Crazy.
trees, gorgeous. Like
Crazy.
the architecture. What a beautiful, beautiful place in the world. And yeah, man, if it wasn't so war torn and so messed up, like it's absolutely someplace that would be on the top of my list to go experience again.
Well, when the places do, I'll bring you to Afghanistan. You bring me to Iraq, and
Deal,
we'll bring our kids, and we'll smoke shisha and enjoy the sights.
dude. Best part. Let's hook it up.
We got clock is ticking. I got about 20 to 30 years for that to happen. So when it does,
I'm bringing my
for
hookah
sure.
with me to Canada, so we'll be able to enjoy that. And if I make it in enough time, I wouldn't mind coming down to that event, man. I'll do an IW march right there.
Oh, hells yeah. I mean, hopefully we can turn it into an IW march, but it's definitely inspired by it. I, can't wait to see how this turns out. It's going to be an interesting go. So yeah, man, let me know. We got all the free medical cannabis here for all us veterans. So you can sample as much as you want. Being the stoned ape, dude, I think it'd be a pretty good trip.
I am no stranger to the weeds, sir.
It's open season up
I would
here,
like
man.
to consider
We'll get you some
myself
good shit.
a cannabis professional. That is.
Connoisseur. All right, buddy. It's always a pleasure. And we'll pick back up another. I think we have another one booked in a few weeks. If not, we'll.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a few coming up and take advantage of some of this dead season. And hopefully your listeners like me. And it's been a pleasure to hang out with your audience today. I think some of them have posed some really great questions in the comments. And yeah, definitely look forward to engaging more and building this one out.
Absolutely. For you folks that were commenting, thank you. Odious, thanks for tuning in again. Some new folks that I don't recognize. Base, welcome to the convo. And we got some few others there early on. Jill, thanks for tuning in, brother. And tune in every Friday. We have a lot of casual conversations. We chat about things that may be related to veterans. Sometimes they don't. But ultimately, we're building a community here based around health and becoming more conscious of what we're doing and how we're going to do it as a community. And if you guys didn't tune in early enough, we are having an event on the 27th. If you were curious about what Anthony was talking about, 27th of September here in Montreal. The link is in the description. Would love to see you there. It's a veteran event. We're going to have a ton of fun. We're going to be walking to build a stronger community. There's going to be beers and smokes, and it's just going to be a true veteran event, just like they do in the United States at the IW, the Irreverent Warriors marches, so that we can feel comfortable in our own skin amongst our own fellow veterans and tell all the dirty jokes that we can't tell amongst the normies out there. So, Anthony, thanks so much for hopping on the show. And folks, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do what you got to do, and train hard, fight easy. See you next one. Peace.
Peace.
Do, 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 do.